Coming up on the show, Washington is finally coming close to reopening the government, but not everything powers back on with the flip of a switch. We're going to break down the fallout and look at what really happens after the shutdown ends. Also, we're getting set to come out of our first real freeze of the season. We're going to check in with the Atlanta mission to see how they're setting up when the temperatures start to tumble again. And imagine a world where you never forget your password because you don't have one. Find out why Georgia Tech researchers are now saying that world is not that far away. This is The Take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to give their take on today's top stories, and we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. Hard to have fun when the temperatures are as cold as they are this morning, down into the 20s starting off this morning. But you'll see that our 11Alive weather impact alert will end once that sun starts to heat us up above the freezing mark, and that will happen here pretty soon. In fact, by about now, we're expecting temperatures in the metro area to be around the 32-degree mark or maybe a little bit above. And we'll continue to warm up as we head through the day. 49 degrees will be our afternoon high temperature. We'll get a boost tomorrow as well under mostly sunny skies. Temperatures will be right at 63 degrees. We should be in the mid-60s this time of year. We'll be above that by Thursday. And then we'll hit those 70s by the time we get to Friday, and we'll hold on to it as we head through the rest of the week. Looking at 73 degrees on Saturday, Sunday under 72. We'll have anywhere from mostly to partly sunny skies through the weekend. There are some hints that there could be a shower that comes our way on Sunday, but the model's just too dry for me. I'm going to leave it dry for now. I think they're pushing that back now to Monday night. Going into Tuesday will be the next best chance for some rain, but it doesn't look all that great. You know we're dry, folks. We have drought conditions over our area, and that will likely continue to expand as we'll have a nice dry week. Nothing but high pressure around with that sunshine. At least we'll start to mild it up a little bit as we go through. But all of our alerts will be set to end here by mid-morning, and so we don't have to worry about the cold any longer. We'll just start milding up as we head through the rest of the week and into the upcoming weekend. All right, today is your chance, folks, to give back to the heroes who gave so much for our country. 11Alive and Top Dog K9 Foundation are hosting a Veterans Day telethon sponsored by Montlick Injury Law Attorneys to provide service dogs to deserving veterans. All you have to do is scan that QR code. It's right at the number there at the bottom of your screen there, or you can call that number 404-566-6602 to donate right now. And we need your help. 11Alive's Caitlin Ross is live at the foundation facility in Lithonia this morning. And Caitlin, how's it going out there?
It is awesome, Chesley. We are so grateful for the support of everyone who has called in. We're hoping so hard we're going to be able to make it to $78,000 donated, and we're so close. So please scan that QR code, pick up the phone right now, because these dogs make such a difference in the lives of the veterans they serve. We've had the opportunity to hear the stories of these veterans, and it is so impactful. Take a listen to the difference these dogs make.
Carl Jenkins didn't want to come to the Top Dog Canine Foundation.
My wife and my parents both all drugged me up here, and it was a godsend. It was life-changing.
The Marine veteran says before working with the foundation, he had given up hope.
I was about 360 pounds. I had chronic back pain, chronic knee pain every single day, hard to get up out of bed. I was highly depressed. And I was giving up on life.
That all changed when he was matched with his service dog.
First dog they brought out, Samson. He looked around after he came out. He came straight up to me, got in between my legs, jumped up, put a paw on both my shoulders, and that was it.
But Samson didn't just offer comfort, he saved Carl's life.
We never barked, but all of a sudden he started barking and barking and barking. And the doctors told me that that's literally saved my life. I was about to go into a diabetic coma.
Working with Samson, Jenkins says, gave him his life back.
It brings a lot of structure to a chaotic mind. It brings that sense of purpose for trying to do something. And it brings that joy in seeing that you know, you trained that dog, and it starts to bring you out of that shell, and it starts to heal you mentally, physically.
Now he wants other veterans to know they're not alone.
I should not have given up on life. At the age of 31, I'm 40 now, and I needed that push, that help from being here to get the help that I needed. And it's not always about going to therapy. This is therapy.
I love that. This is therapy, and that dog saved his life. That's why the money we're raising today is so important, and I want to show you these numbers. We just hit $78,000. I am so grateful for the support, and we want those phones to keep ringing. Please scan that QR code, call in, because every dollar raised goes to donating service dogs to veterans in need. And Chesley, the need is so great because these service dogs can cost more than $25,000. Our servicemen and women oftentimes don't have that kind of money to get a dog, and so these donations, Chesley, help so much.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Caitlin. Thanks for explaining that. So you donate, they're able to get a service dog. So you said how much does it cost to have a service dog? About $25,000?
It can cost more than $25,000, and that's because the training for these dogs is so specific. They have more than 400 hours of training, and then they're keyed specifically to each veteran. So if a veteran has night terrors, a veteran has PTSD, a veteran has mobility issues, those dogs are trained to address that specific veteran's need, and that's why the training is so important.
Yeah, they've done so much for us. We got to give back to them. Thanks a lot, Caitlin. Really appreciate it. We're going to check back in with you about 30 minutes from now, okay? And hopefully that number will be higher and higher and higher. All right. Go ahead and donate, folks. Today is the day to do it. You're watching The Take. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this. Well, here's where the nation's longest ever government shutdown stands today. Last night, enough senators were able to come together and pass a Republican-backed spending bill with help of 7 Democrats and 1 independent. Rand Paul of Kentucky was the only no vote from the GOP. Now the measure gets kicked to the House, which has been on recess since mid-September. Speaker Mike Johnson urged lawmakers to start returning to Washington, D.C. right now. But the earliest a vote is expected is Wednesday afternoon. President Trump has signaled support for the bill, saying yesterday he expects the government to be back open very quickly. Time now to bring in NBC's Alice Barr in Washington, D.C. And Alice, so far, the Speaker wants the vote to happen as fast as possible, but he doesn't have much wiggle room to work with here, right?
Yeah, he only can afford to lose 2 House Republicans and still get this passed. And that is, in fact, because there's about to be a new Democrat in the House. Adelita Grijalva, an Arizona Democrat who won a special election last month, but has not actually been sworn in yet, as the House has been in recess and the government has been shut down. And that delay, in fact, has been getting a lot of attention about why she's not yet been sworn in. She does narrow the margins even more so in the very narrowly divided House. So that's one element here. They have only 2 votes that they can lose among House Republicans, because Democrats have made it clear that they are going to unite to oppose this legislation, specifically because it does not contain anything to curb rising health care costs, as we've been speaking about. But it does appear, specifically with that endorsement from President Trump, that he wants to see the government reopen, that he thinks this bill is going to make it happen. That's a pretty big deal with House Republicans. It is likely to set this on a decent glide path for approval, potentially by as early as tomorrow afternoon, which would then open the government up by potentially as early as tomorrow night.
All right. Talk to me about this group of senators that broke rank and crossed the aisle. What was it about this specific group of lawmakers to side with the GOP?
Yeah, they're an interesting group to watch. First of all, they are moderates, 7 moderate Democrats, 1 independent who caucuses with Democrats. And they're people who by and large, if you look at their records, they're not big shutdown people. One of them, Tim Kaine, represents Virginia, an area that has been particularly hit hard by the shutdown in terms of furloughed workers, in terms of workers being threatened with being laid off during the shutdown. And then really critically here, none of these 8 senators that crossed over and voted with the Republicans is up for re-election anytime soon. I think that tells you a lot about the fact that Democrats were in a bind. They did not see this as a politically winning move to have to cross over, to have to vote with Republicans to reopen the government. And so nobody who was at risk of being up for election soon did that. But there was still this undercurrent of understanding that they were not getting anywhere really substantial with their efforts to try to tie health care provisions to a vote to reopen the government. Republicans were not budging on that, and that is what we have heard from the moderates who crossed over. So this particular group, I think, felt politically protected enough to do what they felt was necessary to protect Americans who were being hurt in the shutdown.
Yeah, President Trump said he'd sign it, right? And then then the fight goes on to a fight over health care. How serious is the White House and Republicans on the Hill about working with Democrats on things after they open up?
So what has been promised by the top Republican in the Senate Majority Leader John Thune, is that there will be a vote by the second week in December. And so that will happen before the Obamacare Affordable Care Act tax cuts. Those subsidies expire at the end of the year. And that expiration is what is going to trigger these potentially doubling, tripling insurance premium prices for Americans. And so there's going to be a vote, but there's no guarantee that it's going to pass in the Senate. And there's no guarantee it's going to be picked up in the House. House Speaker Mike Johnson was asked about that, and he said he'll have a deliberative process with House Republicans, but there are no promises they'll take it up. So it certainly remains an open question. Chesley.
All right, Alice, thanks so much for everything. Really appreciate you. All right, plenty more stories for you coming up, folks. This is The Take. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. Lung cancer isn't just striking long-term smokers anymore. Doctors are seeing a rising rate among younger and middle-aged women and even people who've never touched a cigarette. The Lung Cancer Research Foundation has found that roughly 1 in 5 of all lung cancer deaths occur in people who have never smoked a cigarette. The State Department of Health reports lung cancer as the number 2 cancer among women, making up a quarter of all female cancer deaths. While overall lung cancer deaths are in decline nationwide, the American Cancer Society shows a drop has been slower among women. Let's dive a little bit deeper into this and find out what's going on. Dr. Francisco Almeida and with the City of Hope Cancer Center in Atlanta. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Chesley. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, when we say 1 in 5 lung cancer deaths are in non-smokers, that really is a surprising number right there. What's driving that trend, you think?
Well, there's a growing understanding that a portion of lung cancer develops through pathways unrelated to smoking. Environmental exposures, family history, genetic changes, and even chronic inflammation in the lungs can contribute to this. For people who never smoked, the risk often comes from things they may not see or feel. For example, radon is a major cause and is present in many homes in the US. The Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested for it. I test my home often. Air quality, household exposures, and genetic factors can also increase risk. It is important to recognize that at the end of the day, symptoms in a non-smoker should never be ignored.
When you talk about those symptoms, talk to me about that, because this is not something that's screened for, right?
Yeah, it's not super easy, but a persistent cough, a chest discomfort, a pain, and especially if you cough up blood. And sometimes symptoms can be not related to the chest. You're feeling fatigued, losing weight, stuff like that. So any of those things, the patient should seek to see their doctor.
As a non-smoker, somebody's probably not thinking lung cancer, right? They probably think, oh, I got a cold or something like that. Is that one of the warning signs or something that people should be more aware of now that those numbers have been going up?
Yeah, I mean, a simple cold that lasts a few days and goes away, it shouldn't be, a reason for concern. But let's say somebody is having repeated pneumonias or repeated infections. Sometimes there can be a little tumor blocking an airway, for example, and they have recurrent pneumonias. They end up in the hospital once or twice or need to go to their doctors, get an antibiotic, this month. In a month or two, they're getting another one in a month or two. So those are reasons to look into it, to get proper imaging testing, for example, a chest x-ray or a CAT scan, preferably, depending on the case.
How would you approach the conversation with a younger woman, for example, who may not be at risk or you would think not at risk because she's a non-smoker? How do you have that conversation?
Yeah, today there's no clear-cut screening for non-smokers. There's a growing conversation among the scientific community on how to screen these patients. So if a patient comes to me, of course I'm going to discuss about potential family history, potential secondhand smoking history. For example, is your home tested for radon? So those are things that are important to keep in mind. So for example, my father, he passed away of lung cancer and he never smoked. So I am a person who now I'm watching out, I talk to my personal doctor about it and I read about it. How can I look into ways to detect this early if this effort happens to me?
Gotcha. Dr. Almeida, thanks so much for joining us and thanks so much for the insight.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
Not a problem. All right. When we come back, more on the government shutdown and how the length of it reflects our government and how it works today. We'll be back right after this. Well, the gears of the government may finally be turning again, but after the longest shutdown in U.S. history, it's less of a flip the switch moment and more like a jump start the car, especially on a day like today. Back with us now is friend of the show and Emory political professor, science professor, Andra Gillespie, with what this means, this reopen means for Washington's credibility and how long is going to be the aftershock after things get back underway. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Professor, what does this shutdown mean for the struggle to end it, and what does it reveal about Congress's function or their non-functioning at this particular point?
Yeah, well, I think we all have to be prepared for, I guess, the reopening of government to be slower than perhaps a lot of us would like. So it's important to remember that we're still under a shutdown today. The House still has not voted on the Senate version of the bill, and so you have to have identical versions of a bill passed both houses of Congress before the president is able to sign it. We anticipate that a vote is going to the votes are going to happen tomorrow in the House of Representatives. I expect that it's going to be a party line vote. So even though there were Senate Democratic defections, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has vowed that he's going to try to keep Democrats together and vote against this as a sign of the fact that the compromise that Democrats were seeking has actually not been made yet. So Obamacare provisions have not actually been extended in terms of the subsidies that were being used to keep the price of healthcare down. So I expect a party line vote. I expect President Trump is going to sign this. So hopefully people will be able to get back to work on Thursday. But even with people returning to work on Thursday, you should expect that it's going to take time for government to kind of fully reopen and to be back to being fully functional. So especially for those sectors that have been clearly impacted in ways that actually make the American public kind of aware of what's going on, you might expect that there's still going to be delays at airports as everybody kind of comes back up online and up to speed, and as and as schedules try to realign and become something back to normal. Also we have to think about sort of the ways that these disruptions have had a ripple effect. So, there's still going to be disruptions probably if we're looking at SNAP benefits. And we can't forget the disruptions that have happened already. So we can't undo the last 6 weeks. We can't undo interest payments that government workers may have incurred because they've been unable to make payments. There may be some creditors that have been lenient, but there may have been others who haven't been lenient. And then there are the questions about some of the things that President Trump has said that he may not actually act on. So he signed a law in 2019 that actually guarantees that government workers get back pay in the case of shutdowns. And that was supposed to prevent Congress from having to do this every time a shutdown happened. He had suggested that some workers perhaps shouldn't get pay. He's made kind of statements about people who are air traffic controllers who, didn't go into work because they didn't have gas, or maybe because they had to moonlight someplace else where they could get paid so that they could keep their finances afloat. He has suggested things like giving bonuses to people who showed up to work and perhaps having some type of disciplinary action against those who didn't. That might be idle talk. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that's the kind of stuff that Democrats are likely going to use in the 2026 election. So there are lots of sound bites that came out of this, from the pausing of SNAP benefits to the court fight over whether or not SNAP benefits should be fully funded this month, that I think Democrats are going to try to use as fodder politically going into the 26 midterm cycle.
All right, so let me have you put on your forecasting hat here real quick, like me. Mm-hmm. And what's a realistic time frame once that bill is signed?
People are going to try to open things up and get back up to speed as quickly as possible. But especially in industries like aviation, I think you have to be prepared for there to be ripple effects. And so a lot of the prognosticators on other networks are suggesting that it's going to take days, in particular for the airline systems, to really kind of come back on board. Like if you think about flights that have been canceled and delayed, there are people who already hold tickets for the coming days, right? And you're now going to try to bring all of these other people back online. So I think it's going to take some time for that to kind of come into play. So think about disruptions that we've seen that have actually had nothing to do with government shutdowns because computer systems have broken down. It's usually taken days for the air system to kind of come back to normal. So I think we have to be prepared for that.
All right, Professor Gillespie, you gave me a lot to digest there. Hopefully things will start getting running here. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Caitlin Ross is going to join us once again for our Veterans Day telethon. That's coming up right after the break. Stay with us. Well, today is Veterans Day, and you can honor a veteran today with a gift that changes lives. 11Alive is a proud partner with the Top Dog K9 Foundation to host a telethon today, sponsored by Montlick Injury Attorneys, to train and place service dogs with veterans in need. To show your support, you can scan the QR code that's right there at the bottom of the screen, or you can call that number at the bottom of the screen, 404-566-6602, to make a donation. 11Alive's Caitlin Ross is live at the Foundation's facility in Lithonia, where she's seen firsthand the critical support that these dogs provide veterans. Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Chesley. And it's dogs just like Serge. This is a service dog in training. He's going through 400 hours of specialty training to make sure he's keyed directly to those veterans, that he can respond to their every need. Serge is being trained for night terrors. So if a veteran is experiencing a night terror, Serge is going to know how to go turn on the light, how to give comfort to that veteran, how to really bring them back to normal. And that's what we're hearing over and over again, is these dogs give these veterans the opportunity to be themselves again, to feel like themselves in the world, and in so many cases, saving their lives. Veteran Carl Jenkins told me that his dog truly saved his life.
It brings a lot of structure to a chaotic mind. It brings that sense of purpose for trying to do something, and it brings that joy in seeing that, you trained that dog. You are the one that did that. So in your broken state, seeing that success makes you feel better, and it starts to bring you out of that shell, and it starts to heal you mentally, physically.
brings that joy. And that's what we're trying to do with this telethon today. We're trying to bring that joy to our servicemen and women who have given so much for our country. We have an updated total here today, getting to $79,000 raised for veterans. And we really want that number to keep going up. We want to help as many veterans as we can. So please scan that QR code. Call us here at Top Dog Foundation. We have the Verizon Veterans Day phone bank standing by. We actually have veterans who have service dogs staffing those. Just a few minutes ago, we got a call from a veteran who is in the hospital right now. Blake Rashad, the founder of Top Dog Canine Foundation, was able to give comfort to that veteran and really say, I know how you feel. And that's the power in what's happening here. It's sharing with veterans that they are not alone. Chesley?
Wow, I love what you're doing, Caitlin. I love this program. It's telethon here. I think, and I'm a forecaster by trade, so it's about 9:32 right now. By the time we get to about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, you'll be well over $100,000 and going up. I believe it.
I really hope so.
I believe it. All right. Thanks a lot, Caitlin. Really appreciate all that you're doing. All right, we're going to be checking in with Caitlin all day long in Lithonia. So keep those donations coming, folks. Let's reach that goal that they have, folks, to make a whole lot of money so they can share dogs with those in need. All right, the first real cold snap of the season as temperatures in Metro Atlanta dip below freezing. We're still there right now. We're going to see that temperature rise somewhat as we head into the afternoon. Right now, that puts extra pressure on local missions working as hard as they can to protect our unhoused neighbors from this cold. Joining us now is Tinsley Amon, CEO of the Atlanta Mission, to share how their teams are stepping up to meet the need. Welcome to the show, Tinsley.
Hey, thanks so much for having me today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Describe what it's like for someone living unsheltered on a day like this in Atlanta.
Well, as you can imagine, I mean, living unsheltered isn't good for anybody. It's always dangerous. There's health risks, there's personal safety risks, there's all the things. But then when you add in violent temperatures like this, it becomes just increasingly dangerous. And so we work as hard as we can with just anybody in the city, all of our partners, people, in general, just to get people off the street, make sure everybody has a safe and a warm place to stay when it gets cold like this.
I imagine you are paying very close attention to the forecast. You look at those temperatures. When you hear that those temperatures are coming and they drop, what's the first thing that goes through your mind?
Oh no, it's the first thing that goes through my mind. No, I mean, we work hard all the time, but you're exactly right. We work extra hard like this. We probably, first thing is just making sure that everybody's ready, making sure we've done everything, making sure that we've gone through our checklist to make sure we can provide as many extra beds as possible. We want to work with the city and work with all of our different partners to get as many people off the street on nights like we've had the last 2 nights.
I was just about to ask you that. I know you rely on partnerships. You rely on the city, county, nonprofits to quickly get the alerts out and do what you have to do, right?
That's exactly right. No, I love our network. We have some great people doing some really great work. And what I like is that this time of year, everybody flexes as much as they can to create that extra space anywhere in their buildings that they possibly can. And so we turn a lot of rooms that aren't normally used, for shelter into shelter rooms at our locations so that we can get people off the street.
Are there any particular items that you always run out of first during cold days like this?
I think we always need extra blankets. I think anytime you're bringing in extra people at off hours and different times, it puts strain on our food supplies, things like that. But I mean, just typically the essentials that you would think of that, just like at your home when you're caring for more people than you are anticipating, it puts a strain on your supplies. Yeah.
Yeah. How does a cold snap like this expose the larger challenges Atlanta faces with homelessness all year round?
Oh, I mean, pressure puts, it exposes all the cracks, right? And so I think for us, what it exposes is that we're constantly, running short on number of beds. I mean, on a good day, we're always taxed across all of our systems, all of our shelters. And then when we have to flex like this, it really puts an extra pressure on those systems. I think one of the things I do like about this, and I know it's unusual to talk about something you like about this, is it makes all of us lean in and lean together and collaborate, and I love that. I think that that's something that Atlanta Mission, everybody, we can all continue to get better at collaborating for the good of people. And so I do think, yes, it puts pressure on us, but it makes us work together more. And it reminds me that we really can do this together. We can end homelessness for people when we work together.
That said, if you're out and you spot someone who's sleeping outside in weather like this, what's the safest way to help connect them with the resources they need?
I think the safest way is obviously as you're engaging with people, we always ask, hey, check on your neighbors, and our neighbors are even our unhoused friends, right? And so we tell people all the time that as you have opportunity, especially during a time like this, try not to equip people to stay outside, try to equip them to get inside. And so MARTA cards, any access to the shelters in our city, if you doesn't have to be Atlanta Mission, it can be City of Refuge, it can be Gateway, it can be anyone that you are close to. Recommend that your neighbors get there as quickly as they can, and maybe even try to make sure they have access to get there via some type of safe transportation.
And since I got 30 seconds left here, what keeps your team motivated, especially when temperatures drop like this, to help folks out?
People are what keep us motivated. We get up every day thinking about people. We get up every day thinking about doing what's best for people. And I think this is a great opportunity to make sure Atlanta is better for everybody.
There you go. Tinsley Almond, thanks so much for all that you do for our community.
Thank you.
And yes, for letting us know how we can help you out. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. You want to know how your money matters? Well, stay tuned. CNN's Maribel Abers is going to join us to let us know right after the break. Welcome back to the show. A landmark settlement is ending years of dispute over swipe fees. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning to you, Maribel.
Good morning, Chesley.
Sounds like our next credit card statement may look a little different.
Maybe. So Visa and MasterCard have settled a long-running dispute over swipe fees that may help merchants, but not consumers. So this deal, it reduces average merchant fees by 0.1% over 5 years, and it caps them at 1.25%. For 8 years. Merchants will also have more flexibility on what types of cards to honor, like those with rewards, which tend to have higher transaction fees. The card networks did not admit wrongdoing as part of the settlement, and a federal judge still needs to approve it. Several retail trade organizations say the deal doesn't go far enough to cut rising fees. Consumer advocacy groups argue it could hurt consumers by possibly reducing where they can use their card or redeem earned rewards. Chesley.
Got it. All right, so you pay for streaming fees, and now streaming might pay you. What's up with this YouTube thing going on?
Okay, because they're missing something here, Chesley. YouTube is giving subscribers a $20 credit during its ongoing contract dispute with Disney. The Disney-owned channels, including ESPN and ABC, were pulled from YouTube last month after the companies failed to reach a new carriage deal. YouTube TV says Disney's proposal would raise prices and reduce choices for customers. Disney says that its new offer is cheaper than the expired agreement. YouTube is emailing subscribers with directions on how to redeem their $20 credit, which is taken off the next month's bill. For those who pay through a third party, like say Google Play, the credit appears automatically. Users can also go to tv.youtube.com for more details, Chesley.
Oh yeah, redeem that. All right, the next time we walk the Target, you may get greeted by the Smile Patrol.
You might. I mean, this is a new initiative. It's called the 10-4 policy. It requires employees to smile, make eye contact, and wave if they are within 10 feet of a customer. 4 feet or closer, the staffer must personally greet guests and initiate a helpful interaction. The company didn't say exactly when 10-4 will go into effect or what happens to staffers if they don't fully follow it. The policy announcement sparked chatter online. One Reddit user said a forced encounter at 4 feet would be, quote, a problem. Others noted that a policy demanding smiles might suggest a deeper issue of unhappy employees. And one retail worker posted that it's hard to be friendly when many guests avoid eye contact or duck into another aisle. Listen, Chesley, I'd just be happy if when I made eye contact, someone could answer my question. Yeah. Because if I'm going to another aisle, it just means I'm on a mission.
Yeah, and somebody's going to test that. I mean, right away. Now, you may be working, you're hard working, and then somebody's standing right there waiting for you to, hey, that's going to be difficult, I think. We'll see. We will
see.
All right, on this Veterans Day, you got several places offering some nice perks for those who've served, right?
Yes, many companies are honoring America's veterans today with meal deals and freebies. Krispy Kreme is giving vets a free small coffee, hot or iced, and a donut. Cracker Barrel is serving up a free sunrise pancake special. At Chipotle, vets get a buy one, get one free meal. Applebee's is offering one free full-size entree. Atlanta-based Buffalo Wild Wings is giving away 10 free boneless wings and fries. A number of deals also extend to spouses or immediate family members. Some places will require a form of military ID. see. You can find a more complete list of participating restaurants and businesses on USA Today's website. You know, my dad served 23 years in the U.S. Navy. Hats off to all who have served and continue to, Chesley.
Yeah, they deserve all that and more. Give it to them.
And more.
Yep. Thanks so much, Maribel. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
All right. If you're like me, forgetting your password may happen often. Researchers at Georgia Tech may have a fix. You want to stay tuned for this. We're back right after this. Well, it's a fear that many of us have in this tech-driven world that we live in, forgetting our passwords, or worse, getting hacked because someone guessed one of the countless ones we use on a daily basis. It's estimated that more than 24 billion passwords are already circulating the dark web. That's roughly 3 for every person on Earth. And about 81% of the data breaches involve stolen or weak passwords. Meanwhile, businesses are spending over $1 million a year on average just resetting forgotten passwords, proving that weak logins aren't just risky, they're expensive. Georgia Tech researchers say they may have a fix. Not a stronger password, how about no password at all? Here now to talk more about it is Georgia Tech cybersecurity researcher Frank Lee. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you're trying to fast track us toward a passwordless society. Explain that.
Yeah, so as you kind of mentioned just a second ago, passwords have all sorts of problems. We have problems using them correctly. We forget which password to use on the million different websites that we have. But they also have security limitations, despite the fact that that's really how we authenticate today. Attackers have figured out lots of different ways to get their hands on our passwords. And once they have the hands on it, they just have the keys to the kingdom. They can access our accounts now. So there's been a lot of interest over the years in trying to develop alternative solutions that allow us to authenticate without passwords. And now we've reached a point where we have a technology that is actually out there. You can actually use it today. It's called passkeys, and it has the hope to actually dethrone passwords as our main way to authenticate.
How does this actually work? So, I mean, first of all, how are these hackers, if you can tell me, how are they finding out the password? Hopefully we're not using password 123. How are they finding out our passwords?
Yeah, so I mean, the truth is a lot of people do use very simple, easy passwords, so attackers can figure out just by guessing, but there's a lot of other ways. So for example, attackers can create a website that looks just like a real one, impersonating a real one, and if they can trick you to get onto that website, then you might log in with your real password thinking that you're on, say, your bank website, but you're actually logging into the attacker's website. So this is called phishing. A lot of people have undergone phishing attacks, and attackers have been able to steal passwords that way. Also, the websites themselves sometimes get hacked, and then their database gets stolen, and all the passwords, as you mentioned, get stolen with them. And because a lot of people use the same password on many websites because it's so hard to keep track of, even if only one website gets hacked, the password could be reused by attackers on other websites to target your same account. So there's just so many different ways that attackers have figured out over the years how to get their hands on your password.
You mentioned these upgrades, right? You mentioned this how technology is advancing. Why is password still the weakest link?
Yeah, so passwords are ultimately the weakest link just because the human nature of it. People have to pick them, people have to remember them, and even though passwords could be secure, people followed all the best practices, they just become really burdensome when you do so. So passwords are really what we rely on to identify who is this person that's trying to log into this account. Is it really you? And ultimately, since it really relies on people to make the right choices, people just often don't make the best choices in that case.
Yeah, we talked about pass keys, right? And so talk to us about how that works and what makes it safer than the traditional password.
Yeah, so under the hood, passkeys is pretty complicated, so I'm going to try and just hide some of the details. So with passkeys, the idea is to use cryptography rather than what people pick and keep in their minds. So with passkeys, your device will actually generate a secret called a cryptographic key. It's a cryptographic secret that is going to be impossible for an attacker just to randomly guess. So we already get rid of that problem. Now, the key has a really interesting but important property, which is that there's going to be two parts, two halves, and you will keep one half on your device, and then the other half of your key you'll give to the website. And there's this kind of interesting property just through the wonders of cryptography where if you have your half, the website has their half. you can actually interact to prove to the website that you have your half without actually sharing it, actually sending it. So you're not actually sharing your secret at all. And what's more, the half that the website has cannot be used to figure out your secret. So even if that half gets stolen, like the website gets hacked, or maybe you're on a phishing site and that half gets leaked, the attackers can't figure out your secret half that is actually used to log in as you. So ultimately, this means there's no secret anymore for the attackers to steal. So that's why it makes it much more secure than passwords. And it's actually even hopefully easier to use because your device will manage this all for you rather than you needing to keep track of in your head what all of your passwords are across different sites. So Passkeys has the potential really to offer both benefits in terms of use, ease of use, as well as security.
Yeah, and that's good for a mind like mine, okay? So talk to me about your research, the research you guys are doing.
Yeah, so the research we're doing is trying to transition this into really effective, practical use. So like I mentioned at the beginning, the technology is actually out there. Like this is actually already being implemented in all the major operating systems and devices and all the major browsers. A lot of major websites have actually already started deploying this, like Google, PayPal, LinkedIn, Amazon. Like today, you can use Passkeys to log in on your Mac or Windows device or your Android or iOS phone using any of the major browsers. You can actually log in with Passkeys today. So the technology is here. It's not just theoretical, but it's still in its very early stages. So we want to figure out what are the barriers to adoption for people? When people start using it, what kind of problems do they have? How do they misunderstand what's actually happening? And how do we get people over the hump so they're really using this? And hopefully we can actually start replacing passwords in practice.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. All right, Frank Lee, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, man. Hopefully, yeah, we can get rid of these passwords. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I can't keep it in my head.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
same here. So thanks for having me.
All right, take care. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. My final take, plus a final look at your forecast coming up right after the break. All right, we're finally starting to see that temperature rise above the freezing mark. Right now, at least, we're looking at our thermometer, and it's saying about 36 degrees, which is above the freezing mark, right? And we won't go back. In fact, if you look at the week's temperatures, we'll be up there. In fact, tonight, even though we have clear skies and lighter winds, temperatures will only drop down to about 37 degrees. That's where we'll start off on Wednesday. Now, that's cold, right? So you're going to need a coat at least to start off in the morning. 63 degrees will be the afternoon high temperature on Wednesday. We'll get up to 68 by the time we get to Thursday, and then the 70s come our way by the time we get to the end of the work week. We're going to stick with the sunshine all week long. Our winds will remain light. They'll start to pick up a little bit as we head toward the weekend, but we'll be on the backside of that high pressure, so they'll be out of the south. So we'll see our temperatures continuously warm up. 73 degrees on Saturday. Sunday, we're looking at 72, and we'll be at 70 on Monday. Now, you'll notice there's no raindrops in there at all. All right, we do have drought conditions, and so that's going to expand some of the drought areas that we have in our area. No doubt, folks, we could use some rain. Certainly not when the temperatures are as cold as we started out this morning, because that would be the frozen type. But with the temperatures warming up above our average, we could use some of that wet weather, folks. Our average this time of year would be around 66, 65 degrees, and so we'll be well above that by the end of the week and through the weekend and into next week. In fact, I looked ahead. Our next best chance for the rain really doesn't come until late Monday, going into Tuesday, and right now, that's only about a 30% chance. So looks like this dry pattern is going to continue around our area. So it looks like our drought will continue to expand. All right, if you're having a hard time falling asleep, well, it may be time to switch up your shower routine. That's right, your shower routine. A wellness trend making rounds on social media promotes dark showering. That's right, which is exactly like it sounds, right? Your daily bathing routine just at nighttime or with low lights. What happens is bright lights or blue lights tell the body to lower the melatonin. But when we lower the lights, it signals something in our bodies, our parasympathetic nervous system, and it brings the body to a natural descent of rest or repair mode. So start your shower before you go to bed in low light or no light at all, right? And it makes your body start to go into that sleep mode, right? Now, if you must take your showers in the morning, creators of the study say the alternative is to take a cold shower. It stimulates your vagus nerve, which reduces inflammation and activates parts of your brain that can calm your body down after long exposure. Now, who's going to do that? Who's going to take a cold shower? I might try this, but I'm going to try the dark part. You know, the shower's only been so big. Turn off the lights. I don't care as long as I can get the water on me, right? May help me sleep. Enjoy today, folks. Make it a great one.